WATD presents John Paul, the Car Doctor. All things automotive. Have questions? Call 781-837-4900. Now, here's John Paul, the Car Doctor.
And good Sunday morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Car Doctor program on 95.9 WATD. My name's John Paul, the Car Doctor, here to help you with your car problems, help inform you about what kind of latest automotive news there is, go through some of the interesting questions I get through the email. The email? How old am I? People email me and ask me different things about different car problems, so we'll try to help them with that. And also car choices. Working on a column for Newsday, and people are very interested in the new Honda CR-V, and we actually talked about that a couple weeks ago. So interesting with that car, it's in the upper trim levels, and they don't really even make a big deal out of it. They just say, in the touring, it happens to be a hybrid. So we'll talk about that. Also talk about the car that got me around this week, which was the Kia EV6, an all-electric Kia. Interesting experience with that car. We'll talk about that. I did drive it from here on Cape Cod down to Providence and back. We'll talk about the charging situation on the way. But if you have, I think we've all dreamed about not being stuck in traffic, and maybe, if you have, if you're somebody who maybe works for, Uber Eats or Amazon or something like that, and you get stuck in traffic and you're like, if I could only just fly over the traffic, that would be so helpful. Or that, tractor trailer that jackknifed in the middle of the road that's keeping me from going where I have to go. Wouldn't it be great to have a vehicle that could get me there? Well, with us on the phone is Sant Sathya. He is the CEO of Luftcar, and he's here to tell us about what they have in store, which is a sort of a flying delivery vehicle. Is that right, Sant?
Yes, great to be here, John. Thanks for the opportunity. Yes, it's going to be a flying delivery vehicle. We also call it a logistics vehicle. It's basically a flying forklift that can lift any road vehicle up in the air and take it forward up to 300 miles.
The concept of this is it's not your traditional flying car, because it really is designed for sort of maybe like medical conditions or medical transport, or sort of that last mile delivery sort of thing, where the vehicle would take off and land, and then it would disconnect itself from the flying portion, and then you drive the last way to make deliveries or go to a hospital or deliver goods and services to places that are hard to get to. Is that correct?
Yes. The whole concept is pretty much similar to a drone. It's a larger size drone that can carry larger payloads. So instead of carrying small boxes, we would carry a road vehicle. So the docking mechanism that we came up with is our intellectual property. But yes, the original thought process was to airlift air ambulances or small mobile hospitals through longer distances to take to distant communities that don't have access to good health care. And that's what started it. But then this could also be used to take cargo, to take foods, to take other services like industrial inspection to distant places. Yeah, it could be a delivery, last mile, door-to-door delivery, and also for air ambulances.
And what's interesting about this is it's the propulsion system. You're envisioning a combination of both battery electric and hydrogen. Is that correct?
That is correct. So what we understood early on, 2 years ago when we started the company, is that to achieve the distances and to achieve the larger payload capability, batteries alone will not make it, because batteries are heavier, batteries take a long time to charge. So we went on with hydrogen fuel cell electric propulsion. So the hydrogen fuel cell also has got a battery component for the vertical thrust, but it's a hydrogen electric fuel cell that gets you that longer distance. And we've already demonstrated hydrogen fuel cells in the car industry. I used to work at Ford Motor Company, built 300 hydrogen cars back in the day. So the technology is feasible, but now with so much effort in making hydrogen commercially available, these vehicles have a great chance of being commercial with low-cost fuel. But hydrogen is the answer for long-distance and heavy payload capability.
And the idea, the concept behind this, where the wing unit, or I think when I saw some concept photos of this, it has 4 vertical takeoff type propulsion units.
Yes, we have actually 6 propellers.
6, okay.
6 propellers based on recommendation from the Federal Aviation Authority, FAA. There are more YouTube videos online. You can go to our website, luftcar.com, luftcar.com, and there is a very cool video right there. We are still at the prototype stage. We are building a prototype right now, so I don't want anybody to think that we are already flying or we have a demonstrated product out there. So we are still developing the prototype. But the concept has been verified with independent agencies and with the University of Connecticut and several other groups.
Except for the idea of the vertical takeoff, well, except for a whole lot of things, the propulsion systems and the vertical takeoff, this sounds very. I think it was back in the 40s, and maybe it was a company. It was Fuller or something that had like a realistic looking car with a wing set that you kind of flew the vehicle to an airport. You disconnected the wings, and then you could drive kind of normally as a car after that. So the concept kind of in some ways has been around for a while. Do you envision, like, the terminology, is it VTOL, VTOL, is it vertical takeoff and landing? Do you envision like vertical takeoff airports kind of around the country so people are able to better access or better use your vehicle in the future?
Yes, absolutely. So for these eVTOL technologies to be popular, to be commercialized, you need these vertiports where these vehicles can land and take off. And we are part of these vertiport projects across the country. In fact, we are part of a government project, which I cannot disclose yet, of the details of it, but it's going to be in somewhere on the East Coast, is that we will be building these vertiports, what we call as Luftpads, where these vehicles can land and take off, and where hydrogen will be available for refueling. And the beauty of this is that we could use existing regional airports, which are not being utilized to a great extent now. So this is an opportunity to revitalize these regional airports where these vehicles can land and take off, get refueled with hydrogen, but that same hydrogen can also be used to refuel trucks. You know, there are a lot of trucks coming up on the road now with hydrogen propulsion, hydrogen powertrain. So the regional airports are going to have a new life after this technology.
Yeah, where I live, I think there is one or two. There's one good-sized regional airport, a couple of smaller ones, and then there's even smaller, old, kind of grass strip, gravel airports that still get used a little bit, but they're kind of hobbyist airports. And this could be sort of new life for those as well, right?
Absolutely, and we don't require to tear down lots of the existing infrastructure. All we need is to build a few helipads inside of these airports, and also build warehouses for companies like FedEx and UPS to operate these airports as their cargo hubs. So these airports will get a new life. They will become more like, they'll be much sought after, and they're going to serve the communities that are depending on those airports.
And the name of the company sounds German, but the company's in fact located in Central Florida, right?
Yeah, Luft is the only thing German about us. We are very much an American company, and we started out in Central Florida, but now we are moving towards Southern Florida. We are I'm personally in West Palm Beach, and we are working in Miami quite a bit. But we also have another headquarters, and I would call this headquarters because of the kind of work that we do there. Is in Bridgeport, Connecticut.
So we're almost neighbors then. Look at that. So where it kind of in the timetable of prototype development, and as you start to move forward, you're going to have to work with the FAA for the flying portion, but you're also going to have to work with NHTSA for the vehicle portion, right?
Yes, that is what it is. But the thing is, FAA has recognized that these kinds of concepts are going to be much more in common. So there is an advanced technology evaluation group within FAA that looks at concepts like these, which combine road and air. So they will help facilitate working with NHTSA, but from our side, we will also work with NHTSA. But this is a place where all these all aspects of DOT come under an FAA. So an FAA has been doing a great job in getting this eVTOL configurations verified and certified, and they're very much engaged with what we're doing.
And kind of looking at that timetable, like you said, you're working on a prototype stage now. You're not at the point of having having a working vehicle yet. Where do you see your time frame going over the next 10 or 15 years?
So we have very clear immediate milestones. We will have a small-scale prototype by September-October timeframe in time for the Dubai Air Show. And then we will have a two-seater vehicle, which we would give to FAA for certification by mid-next year. So having said that, by end of 2025 or early 2026, we will have a five-seater vehicle prototype that we would give to FAA. And FAA typically would take 2 years from then on to certify vehicles and get them in the air. So we are looking at anything between 27, 28 time frame for these vehicles to be commercially available to the public. But I would expect the cargo version would be available much earlier. So we are targeting 25, 26 time frame for the cargo vehicles to be operational.
And that's a very aggressive schedule. That I was thinking much longer out, but this is a very aggressive schedule that looks like in the next 5 or 6 years we could actually see your vehicles starting to do their job.
Yeah, and a lot of that is because of a very mature supply chain. I mean, the supply chain has matured in the last 3-4 years with so much of funding being available in this industry. And it's so many companies trying to do different things in the advanced air mobility. And many of the big corporations like Honeywell and Cummins have all jumped into this industry, and there's a good supply chain that's out there for us to take components off the shelf and build our prototypes faster. So I don't expect this to be a 10-year project to get these things commercialized. It's going to be like 3 to 5 years.
And it's interesting that you're going to try to be at the Dubai Auto Show, where if I had to pick any two places in the world where I would see something that was flying and driving, it would either be Dubai or maybe Singapore.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just came back from the Paris Air Show last month, and where I had a speaking opportunity, but we don't have a prototype yet to display there. But our next immediate air show would be Dubai, but we plan to continuously display in all these subsequent air shows, including Farnborough.
Now there was recently a flying car company that I guess got some FAA partial certification, but it's going to be exactly that, a flying car. It's not going to be a work vehicle, and they're saying it's going to be in the $300 range. And interestingly, if you want to buy one, they're only requiring a $150 deposit, which I thought was sort of interesting. Do you have any idea what kind of the 5-passenger or 2-passenger cargo version cost would be for this yet?
We are targeting at around $400,000 to $500,000. We want this to be very affordable. We want people to buy it across communities. We also want to operate on a renting model where people can just buy the car part of it and they can rent the wing part of it, which would make it a lot easier to scale up. So the price point that we are looking for the total vehicle will be $400,000 to $500,000.
And like you pointed out, the air part of it is hydrogen powered. Right now, although we have the ability to make a ridiculous amount of hydrogen in the United States, there isn't a lot of hydrogen refueling stations. But that's where you're thinking these regional airports could become refueling hubs, right?
Yes, exactly. And I was at the Houston Hydrogen Expo just 2 weeks ago. I was amazed to see the amount of hydrogen refueling infrastructure that's being created. Lots of great companies out there, startups and even bigger companies doing hydrogen pumps. Our challenge is to actually have cryogenic hydrogen or liquid hydrogen put in these vehicles. So we are still exploring. We are partnered with the Department of Energy's National Renewables Lab and also with a couple of large corporations, including Bosch Aviation. So by the time we get to commercialization, I'm pretty confident that there will be liquid refueling available, but even otherwise, we could still work with gaseous hydrogen refueling infrastructure.
Now, we hear the term green hydrogen, and I'll be honest, I don't actually really know what that means. Can you explain that to us?
Yeah, sure. Green hydrogen is hydrogen that is produced from water through electrolysis, and that electricity to electrolyze water comes from renewable power, like wind or solar or hydro or even nuclear. If it's nuclear, they call it pink hydrogen. But anyway, so it's green hydrogen is a very clean form of hydrogen with zero carbon footprint from one end to another. And that's where I think the Department of Energy has put a lot of emphasis on, is to make green hydrogen affordable to people and bring down the cost per kilogram. We are involved in the project on green hydrogen, and we are a vehicle that would create demand for green hydrogen. And on that same note, we are partnered with the world's largest truck company, PACCAR, which owns Kenworth and Peterbilt, as another fellow off-taker for the hydrogen infrastructure that we're going to put in these regional airports. Yes, but green hydrogen will be the way to go. It's fairly expensive right now at $5.5 or $6 per kilogram. The target is to bring it down to $2 per kilogram and eventually $1 per kilogram by 2030. That's the Department of Energy goals.
And I have driven hydrogen-powered cars in the past, and I'm not sure that hydrogen-powered cars are the answer, but certainly hydrogen-powered trucks, like you pointed out, with the big trucking companies, that seems to be the real answer, as over time eliminating those diesels and powering those trucks with hydrogen, rather than something like Tesla's big Cybertruck or Nikola's Nikola's electric truck. Hydrogen seems like it would be a better answer than a big giant battery pack, to me at least.
Yeah, absolutely. Hydrogen is the long-term answer, and we already had hydrogen technology 15 years ago in this country. I was working at Ford. We drove hydrogen cars on the road. It's just that hydrogen as a fuel carrier was not available in the market for us to use. So the batteries took over in the interim. So batteries are more of an interim solution. I come from the hydrogen camp, so the battery guy might not completely concur with me. Unless we come up with a miraculous battery chemistry that could help you recharge the battery faster, get the batteries to be very lightweight, I don't see batteries offering a long-term solution for sustainable transportation. But are batteries going to go away? They're not going to go away. They're going to coexist with hydrogen fuel cells because they have specific advantages with power density and things like that. So we are looking for a happy coexistence with batteries, but fuel cells would be probably a dominant part in propulsion going forward.
That absolutely makes sense. Before we let you go, you said you worked for Ford Motor Company. Some of your other senior level folks, do they have the same kind of background? They're scientists. Who do you have in the senior level of your company?
Well, in my company, I got my VP for engineering is from U.S. Air Force. I got another senior executive from Lockheed Martin, and we just hired a CTO from a major defense company that comes from Honeywell. So we got people who have been there, done that. Right? These are people that brought great products to market. These are great systems engineers. They understand business. So our biggest strength is our team.
It certainly sounds it. And if people want to find out more information, they can see some pretty cool videos, like you pointed out on YouTube. Just sort of put in the search Luftcar, Luftcar, right? Yes,
luftcar.com.
It sounds like it sounds like the future is getting closer and closer all the time, and the idea that someday we could either see your vehicles be used for medical transport rather than a helicopter that has to land somewhere. Maybe we could see your vehicles being used to transport, medical transport patients, or medicine for that matter, to places where they can't go. Or the next time I buy something from Amazon, who knows? Maybe it's going to land in a regional airport, and there's going to be a van that's going to come and drop it off, and it's all going to be done with zero emissions.
That's the plan. It takes the whole community to make it happen. The airports, the FAA, the hospital networks, they all going to be part of this, and we are doing everything we can, and we're getting great support from the community and from the government so far.
Seth, I want to thank you for taking a little time out of your Sunday morning and joining us on the Car Doctor program. It sounds like the future looks pretty exciting.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here, John.
All right, take care. Bye-bye. Have a good rest of your weekend. We need to take a break, pay some bills. My name's John Paul. This is the Car Doctor program. You're listening on 95.9 WATD. We'll be right back.
AAA is with you at every moment in your life. They have 24-hour 7 roadside assistance, which covers you in any car you're driving or riding in, even a rental or your friend's wheels. They have great member rates on home and auto insurance, savings on travel, hotels, and rental cars, and discounts on hundreds of your favorite brands. You're covered on and off the road. Learn more at aaa.com/join.
Time. Hey guys, it's Lexi James.
And we're Crier Creek.
Twilight Showcase Radio, hosted by Sandy Stride and Keith James.
Tune into Twilight Showcase Radio Sundays on 95.9 WATD and 95.9WATD.com.
Search for Twilight Showcase on Facebook.
And visit twilightshowcase.org.
Twilight Showcase, tomorrow night from 7 to 9 on 95.9 WATD. Make an appointment Sunday morning at 11 for John Paul, the Car Doctor, on 95.9 WATD. Now, back to the Car Doctor.
And welcome back to the Car Doctor program on 95.9 WATD. If you want to join us, our phone number is 781-837-4900, 781-837-4900. Love to talk to you. Let's talk about the car that got me around, and that is the Kia EV6. It's an impressive all-wheel, well, in this case, all-wheel drive, but it's an all-electric hatchback. It's available in rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive with 3 trim levels. I don't know why they just can't have normal-sounding names now. The Wind, which is one model, GT line, and the performance-oriented GT. We had the opportunity to test that one. The base model Wind boasts a pretty impressive range of 310 miles on a full charge, while the GT model with all-wheel drive driven in full sport mode offers a reduced range of about 201 miles. Equipped with dual electric motors and all-wheel drive, the EV6 delivers a pretty remarkable 576 horsepower. Now, I was at a car show yesterday, and there was a, I don't know, Z06 Corvette that was there, and it was a C6, I guess, and it was, bragging on the fender. It was 405 horsepower. This is a hatchbacky sort of SUV-ish kind of thing, 576 horsepower. And it's not even just that. It's torque, which is even more. Kia uses a 77.4 kilowatt lithium-ion battery. It's an 800-volt battery, which is a little different than Tesla even uses a little bit lower voltage. Kia and Hyundai both use higher voltage batteries. Safety is a priority in this EV6. It has a comprehensive set of advanced driver assistance features. These include forward collision warning and assist, blind spot collision warning and assist, rear cross traffic alert, lane keeping warning and assist. You get the idea. Parking collision avoidance, safe exit assist, so you don't open the door while somebody on a bike is riding by. Remote control smart parking, which is a fun novelty. You push the button and the car backs up and goes forward, whatever it does with nobody in it. It's kind of cute, but I don't know how, other than if you park somewhere and somebody, pulled right next to you so you couldn't get in and out of your driver's door. I guess. I mean, it's fun to show it off, but I don't know how real practical it is. So what you end up with a car with sort of advanced driver assistance features, not quite self-driving. It does have a hands-free driving, and in fact, it'll even change lanes if you use a turn signal. I found it was okay. I mean, keep your hands on the wheel, people. That's what you really should do. On the road, the EV6 offers a comfortable and quiet driving experience, excellent handling. However, things change, and when you switch to the sport mode, there's a green button sort of below the horn, and you push that button, and all of a sudden this electric car transforms into a really high performance car. It can go to 0 to 60 in a little over 3 seconds. That's up Porsche GT3 Ferrari type range. I mean, it is really fast. The GT variant also features sporty suspension components, so when you hit the button, things firm up a little bit. It stiffens up the ride. If you prefer a little bit more restrained driving experience, you can dial back the performance. There's 2 additional settings: Eco Mode, which maximizes range and limits horsepower to 287, and Normal Mode, which offers a still pretty formidable 430 horsepower. The alternative settings also provide a slightly softer ride, so if you don't want that sports car firm ride, you dial it back a little bit. But when you push the green button, and especially if your foot is on the, I almost said gas because there's no gas, foot is on the accelerator. Say you're pushing down about, 20% of the accelerator, and as you push that green button to go into GT performance, thing takes off. So you just have to be a little bit aware of that. Also, it has, I took one of my coworkers for a ride, and he said, what kind of settings did it have? I said, it even has a drift mode. Now, I don't know who actually would go out fast and furious, drift car racing with this, but it has a drift mode should you want to do that. Don't know who would, but anyway, its handling's really good. It's had 21-inch wheels and tires on it. The steering's light enough at low speeds and firms up at higher speeds like a lot of cars do today. It's also, there is one other weird thing that I'm not a fan of. There's a button on the dash that you can push and you can get fake acceleration sounds. So if you miss the sound of a performance gasoline car because this is quiet, it gives you, a Grand Theft Auto acceleration sounds. I don't get it. I don't know why you want fake engine sounds, but I guess some people do. In terms of charging, the EV6 offers some impressive capabilities. You can charge with a level 3 charger. You can charge with a level 2 charger. Or if you had a level 1 charger at home, you can do that. Interestingly, Kia didn't include a level 1 charging cable. So I don't have level 2 charging at home. I don't even know if my little cottage here can support adding an extra 40 amp electric circuit to my 100 amp circuit breaker panel. But charging off a 20 amp outside plug with 110 volts or 120 volts, or I guess if you want to get technical, 117 volts, would make, day-to-day charging. So if I was driving 20, 30, 40 miles a day, I could plug it in and charge it back up. So here's what I did. I had to go to the AAA office in Providence. It is about a 100-mile trip from my house to the AAA office. At AAA, we currently have one level 2 charging station sort of out in front of the building. We also have 4 level 3 charging stations that will be used eventually to charge up our Ford Lightning pickup trucks when we get them, but they were not operational yet. And I didn't even know we had them. I haven't been to the AAA office in a year, I think, and it's remarkably remodeled. The bathrooms look like they should be in the Four Seasons. I mean, it's just, they did a really, really nice job while the building was sort of empty. And we're having people coming back in 3 days a week now. So we're starting to see some more activity. The lunchroom is back to having a caterer there again. So for people who want to go to work at AAA, especially in the main office, you will find it very comfortable. Nice office spaces, good cafeteria now, and, with hot food and stuff. So, and fantastic bathrooms. But anyway, so I had to go there for all things to get my picture taken. I do something, one of the columns I write ends up on the WPIX website up in New York. And we had an older picture, and the picture that is used of me in social media and other places is, I bet it's got to be getting close to 10 years old. Nobody knows where their picture is. Nobody knows where it came from. Well, we know where it came from, but nobody knows where it actually is. It's been reduced and copied, and it's unfortunately when you kind of reproduce even a digital image enough times, people make it smaller and bigger and change it, and so they wanted a new picture of me. And I'm a terrible photography candidate because I never smile. So I had people trying to tell me jokes. It was funny. But anyway, so I drove in. I used about 100 miles of range. When I got the vehicle, it was pretty much fully charged. So I used about 100 miles of range, had about, I think, 80 miles left maybe. Plugged into the level 2 charger for about almost an hour and a half. Drove the car down the street. We had to take some more pictures. Drove the car back, plugged it in for like another 45 minutes on level 2 charging. Probably only added 15 miles worth of range in what amounted to probably almost 2 hours of charging time. So it's a 40 amp level 2 charging system. I think it would have taken about 8 hours to fully recharge the batteries. Well, on the way back home, I stopped at the Cape Cod Mall. And at the Cape Cod Mall, they have a variety of charging stations. Bosch has one. Electrify America has one. And I think ChargePoint has some. So I pulled up and I found the Electrify America one first, way on the outskirts of the mall, which is kind of by design, I bet, because the Electrify America charging systems had 50 amp or 50 kilowatt charging systems, 150 kilowatts, and 350 kilowatts. So at first I didn't realize that. I pulled up to the one that said 150 and 150. I pulled up to that, I plugged in for a minute or two, and then I realized, oh, there's a 350 one over here. Let's unplug and go over there. So I shut it off, unplugged it, went over there, plugged into the higher one. There was a guy in a Volvo or a Polestar who saw me start to drive away with the little door open. He's waving to me. I said, no, I'm just backing up to the next one over. In about 20 minutes, I got about 90% of the battery life back. So I added maybe 180 miles, almost maybe even a little bit more than that, in about 22 minutes. And I guess the reason they don't have them right in front of the mall is they don't want people to park there and then, go have lunch. They want people to park there, sit there and charge for 20 minutes, scroll through Facebook or whatever people do, do a TikTok video while you're there. And then when you're done, move on. In fact, they actually, I believe, have once your car's charged up and you're not moving, added fee to get you to move. But that recharge that took about 22 minutes, added about 180 miles of range, cost me $9.60. The first couple minutes that I charged at the station that I didn't end up staying at, there was no charge for that. It came back as zero because I probably didn't use any electricity for the very short period of time I was there. So I got about 180 miles of range for less than $10. Somebody said to me, well, it's about what a Prius is paying for gas. I'm like, not even. I mean, if a Prius is getting 50 miles per gallon, 3.5 gallons of gas is going to cost more than that. I mean, right now gas is $3.50, $3.60 a gallon. I think I paid $3.65 the last time I got gas. So you're going to pay $9, $10, $11, almost $11 for gasoline to do the same distance that I did for about $9.60 or 80 cents or whatever it is. So level 3 charging, definitely the way to go if you want to charge quickly. Level 2 charging, if it's at home, plug in when you get home at night, even if you used up that 250 miles of range, it will recharge overnight. So it will be able to take care of it. You'll have the same range the next day. But if you're relying solely on level 2 charging because you don't have level 2 charging at home and what is around you is municipal spots that maybe have level 2 charging, it's not going to work very well. In fact, I drove the car down to a park and ride that had charge point electric vehicle charging, and interestingly, it was free because it was, I guess, the state is trying to encourage people to do kind of charging and then take the bus into Boston or whatever. There were 4 or 6 charging well, I think it was four charging stations. Each one has 2 cables, so up to 8 cars could charge there. There was 4 or 5 cars there, kind of an interesting mix: a Chevrolet Leaf, a Rivian pickup truck. I think there was a Tesla Model 3 that was there, which was sort of odd to actually see it there, and I pulled in. So I pulled in, and I did the same thing. I kind of sat there for a while, tinkered around, and went, okay, I'm bored. It's a warm day. Good if you're there at the park and ride. If you're going to be there, plug in. You come back at the end of the day when the bus drops you back off. Your car's fully charged, and if you're doing it there, you're doing it for free. Not far from there, there's a vocational school, Cape Cod Vocational, and they actually have charging stations at their school, but you pay a fee for those, where the park and ride ones are free, which is kind of neat. So if you are thinking about electric, the Kia EV6, especially the GT version, if you're looking for a supercar almost, it will do just about everything you need to do. And how much does this car cost? I happen to have the Monroney window sticker right in front of me. Delivered, including all options, $62,865, and I am willing to bet. I mean, even though $62,865 is a lot of money, I am willing to bet that you are not going to find this kind of performance for $63,000. It's pretty impressive performance. So if you're thinking about something like that, it's certainly certainly good. A couple of criticisms: the infotainment system, like everyone, tends to be a little bit, annoying to use sometimes. Too touch based. Also, rear visibility backing up. You need the backup camera. If you try to turn around and look out the rear window, you aren't seeing much. So the backup camera is really helpful. There is a small, tiny amount of storage in the frunk. So what's a frunk? Front trunk. And good storage in the back. So and like all electric cars, it doesn't have a spare tire. So what was other thing was kind of interesting about this vehicle too, where you would plug it into charge, you could plug a unit into that and then plug an extension cord into that, so you could use the battery in this as a generator, and you could, if you had a power failure, you could run the refrigerator in your house. You could run a small air conditioner. You could, next time Jesse goes to a football game, he could run his blender or refrigerator or both. So kind of a neat little option too. So in conclusion, the Kia EV6, incredible performance car. However, it does come with some trade-offs between range and performance for day-to-day driving. Personally, I would probably go with something like the Wind version. Not the same performance, a little bit lower price, and longer range. But if you want to be out there with the likes of a Porsche 911, this thing rips to 0 to 60, and I think Kia actually says 3.4 seconds or something like that. So pretty interesting vehicle. If you want to join us, our phone number is 781-837-4900. Love to talk to you and see what's in your mind, on your mind. I believe we have Tom from Pembroke on the line. Tom, good morning.
Hey, John, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. And along those lines, at the park and ride, you won't have your catalytic converter cut out.
Did that happen to you?
No, but I hear it all the time at those park and rides. And all day to do it,
Yeah, and I got to tell you that back in the olden days, there was and I used to have one in my toolbox. It was sort of a kind of looked like a chain wrench sort of thing. It was what it was a bunch of cutting wheels, like the same kind of cutting wheel that would be on a pipe cutter, and they were wrapped around a chain. And if you were trying to cut exhaust pieces off without using a torch or something, you would wrap this chain around it. You'd rock it back and forth. Because the chain wrapped all the way around the pipe, you only had to make about a quarter of a turn back and forth, and would cut through the pipe, providing it wasn't too rusty. And it was kind of handy for awkward places to cut exhaust off. Now you can buy a battery Sawzall for $35 and whip through the exhaust pretty quick. And there was some legislation in Massachusetts that one of the reasons people steal catalytic converters is because they're easy to sell. They take a pickup truck full of them to a salvage yard and they sell them. Nobody asks where they came from. Nobody wants any kind of identification. So there's a state rep in Massachusetts that filed a bill that said, if you are going to be buying catalytic converters at the salvage level like that, you need to get identification from the person who's selling them to you, and you need to pay for them with a check, because that way they need to, if they say, "Hey, I'm John Mickey Mouse Smith," and you write out the check to them, and they go try to cash it, they got to prove who they are, and if their license or whatever doesn't say, John Mickey Mouse Smith on it, they can't cash the check. So I don't know where that ever went. Maybe we'll have to get them back on to talk about that. But at least that might slow it down a little bit. And I can only imagine. I've cut exhaust off with a Sawzall before. I mean, you can hack through the front and back exhaust pipes off a muffler in a minute or two with a cordless Sawzall. So you crawl under, especially if it's an SUV, something like a Highlander or something like that. You go under and do it. My nephew works for an insulation company. They have 4 or 5 box trucks, and they came in. He gets into work about 5:30 in the morning. He went out to start up the trucks. 5 out of 6 had no exhausts on them because somebody came in the middle of the night, cut the catalytic converters off, left the last one because I think they thought it was a diesel. So they didn't bother. But and then he ended up. He's kind of a handyman kind of guy. So he said to his boss, "I'll just order all the parts. I'll put the new catalytic converters on." And I think they were hit a second time, and they're behind a locked chain link fence, and they got cameras. But the people had hoodie sweatshirts pulled up, sucked down over their face with glasses on, and you couldn't tell who they were.
Yeah, cameras are only good after the fact. You can't. There's nothing you can. Yeah. I mean, there are motion ones that'll tell you instantly,
right.
But still, you don't monitor it 24/7. So
that's right. And the other part of it is too that some people have done there's with the Prius, which is a really expensive catalytic converter, and it's probably one of the most valuable ones. Companies have come out with these aluminum shields that you pop rivet to the bottom of the car and block off the catalytic converter. And I have 2 concerns about that. One is it going to be able to breathe enough? And they punch a bunch of vent holes in it. And the other thing is, have you changed the crash dynamics of the vehicle because you pop riveted this aluminum plate in the bottom? Is now the car stronger, or is it going to crumple up different and might end up hurting?
Yeah,
I don't know, but all those things concern me. And when I was coming back from Florida this year, a couple times, the 2 nights I stayed overnight in different hotels, I'm like, well, I'm going to make sure I park under a bright light, and so at least if they're cutting the catalytic converter off, they can see what they're doing, I suppose. But I'm thinking if I park under the bright light, it might keep people away. I don't know.
Yeah. Or get a low rider, have it go right to the ground.
There you go. Yeah. That's an idea, but I don't think I'm doing that in my regular car, at least, anyway.
Yeah, and on that point, would the all electric vehicle have anything worth stealing? I know they have precious metals in the batteries, but probably not to the extent.
No, and it's too hard to get the battery out. You need basically a battery tray table kind of thing because they're heavy. I mean, they're a couple thousand pounds. So I don't see that happening. one of the things that I've seen stolen recently is apparently people are stealing the cables off the charging systems because they're full of copper wire.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so not other than in this Kia, for instance, if you stole the 21-inch wheels and tires off of it, they'd probably look good on some other car, but
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't see a lot of like regular theft kind of stuff going on. But whoever thought that there would be a whole video series of stealing Kia Souls? So
Yeah.
you never know. You
Yeah.
never know.
Even the standard battery is approaching $300 now.
Yeah. I put a battery in my wife's Volkswagen just before we left Florida. It was the original battery from 2015, and it was dated 2014. So it was 8 years old at least. And it just and every time I started the car, I'm like, I wonder how long this is going to last, and it didn't. And so I out of convenience, I went over to Walmart, and they said to me, "Oh, we have this battery and this battery," and then they said, "Oh, we don't. We only have the AGM battery, which is the gel cell one." And although I'm not a big believer in replacing a regular lead acid battery with a AGM battery, that's what they had. So, but that thing was $200, and that same battery at like one of the auto parts stores, O'Reilly's or Advanced or one of them, was almost $300. So
Yeah.
So it's you're right. Battery. I don't know whatever happened to the $49 battery.
Long gone. Yeah, I just bought one from my daughter's Audi. It was close to $300 because it had that little vent tube on it.
Yep. No, and that's what we've found. We're in the we deliver batteries to. You can buy a battery and have it delivered if it fits. If we have one that fits your vehicle, and some people say, oh, you get $235 to bring a battery and install it in your driveway. And I'm like, go out and price some batteries. They're scary expensive now.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
As Junior Tomato would say, it's crazy times.
It is. I expect to see him again next week for something. So.
Oh, good.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye. Jesse, you tell me. Do we take a break or do we go to Tom and Weymouth?
Let's get the break out of the way.
Okay, let's do that quick break. My name's John Paul. This is the Car Doctor program. You're listening on 95.9 WATD. Our phone number is 781-837-4900. We'll be right back.
AAA is with you at every moment in your life. They have 24-hour 7 roadside assistance, which covers you in any car you're driving or riding in, even a rental or your friend's wheels. They have great member rates on home and auto insurance, savings on travel, hotels, and rental cars, and discounts on hundreds of your favorite brands. You're covered on and off the road. Learn more at aaa.com/join.
The Make This the Summer Sales event is going on right now at Quirk Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram on Route 139 in Marshfield. Quirk Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is one of the largest dealerships of its kind in New England, featuring an incredible inventory of brand new Jeep Wranglers, great customer service, and Quirk's Chrysler Certified Service Department. Quirk Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is accessible from all across the South Shore, just off Route 3 at the new Exit 27.
Quirk works to save you money. Quirk works for you.
Visit QuirkChryslerDodgeJeepRam.com.
Talk radio with a South Shore point of view. Hi, I'm Kevin Tachi. Join me tomorrow for Monday Night Talk, where the South Shore comes to talk. Tomorrow night, after the 6 o'clock news here on 95.9 WATD.
Make an appointment Sunday morning at 11 for John Paul, the Car Doctor, on 95.9 WATD. Now, back to the Car Doctor.
And welcome back to the Car Doctor program. Let's go to Tom and Weymouth and then Bill and Malden. Tom, good morning.
It was working these EVs.
I'm sorry, what was that, Tom? I missed the beginning.
How does the air conditioning system work in these EVs? I mean, do they have the typical system? What about?
Some have typical systems. Others use sort of a heat pump type system. Like this Kia actually uses, like a like a hotel has the air conditioning unit. There's also a heater kind of thing. Well, those are kind of a variation of a heat pump, and these use sort of the same thing. So they use a electrically spun compressor. So So and they actually, some of them will actually use, for the heat portion, they'll use the batteries have to be cooled using liquid coolant, and they'll use that to pull some of the heat out for the heat. So it uses a combination of items. But yeah, the systems are relatively simple.
So you could put the AC on, like, how some people start their cars in the winter. Now in the summer they want the car cool. So you could do that with them?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what's kind of interesting about these cars, so whether you were stuck in some crazy traffic jam, like the big ice storm, or maybe there's a tractor trailer jackknifed on 95 and you were stuck there for hours, battery electric cars are actually, providing it had, some battery charge in it, they can run in the climate control for tens of hours. You can sit there for 10 or 15 hours and keep the temperature at 70 degrees.
Oh, that's great. I'm going to let you go and let Bill get in. He probably has an important question. Okay.
Well, no, don't feel that way. Yours are important
he might have something on his car wrong, and he wants. I've been in that situation, and I want to talk to you.
Okay. All right. All right. Good enough. All right. Take care. Bye. All right. Let's talk to Bill in Malden, who maybe has an important question to ask. According to Tom.
Thank you, and Tom, thank you very much, because he was right. John, I am calling about a problem that's just come up this week with my car, and it's a 2013 Lincoln MKS.
Okay.
In what they call Echo Boost, and it's just developed this annoying set of squeaks, no matter how flat or smooth the road is, and it just sounds like two pieces of the car aren't sliding past each other. It happens from the front end, and it's just annoying enough that you can kind of hear it. I don't know if they still use bushings.
There is, and if I had to guess, I would probably say it's probably a sway bar bushing, which they still use, but that's probably the case, and that should be easy enough to get under there and look at, or get it up on a lift somewhere and take a look and see what it is. But I'm willing to bet it's not. Is it front wheel drive or all wheel drive?
It's all-wheel drive.
Yeah. So you're carrying a little bit more weight with that, but if that when I hear of a squeak like that, that's one of the first things that I usually think of is it's a sway bar bushing usually, and that's sort of
very good.
Yeah, sort of the direction I would probably lean in, and it shouldn't be. I mean, everything's expensive now, but if it is just sway bar bushing, I can't imagine it's too expensive. It's probably in the, I don't know, it's probably each side's maybe $40, and and maybe an hour's labor to replace it. So a couple $100 should take care of it if that's what it is.
Yeah, and that was one of my follow-up questions, John. Would the technicians at Sullivan Tire be able to look at that? And
sure. Yeah, that's an easy one. If that's what it is, that's easy enough to. That's even. And I don't think it's anything like. I mean, you have pretty sophisticated shock absorbers and stuff in that. The way you describe it, though, I think it sounds more like a suspension rubber piece that's creaking and moaning together. And like I said, usually when you hear that kind of noise, it usually turns into more of a sway bar bushing.
Oh, very good.
Okay.
Thank you, and thank Tom again for letting me on the air.
All right. Okay. All right. Take care, Bill. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Speaking of going to the dealer for things, I actually went to a Hyundai dealer the other day because. I go to, and I don't know, I guess I don't know exactly why this is, but I go to the Hyundai dealer in Plymouth, a little small Hyundai dealer in Plymouth, and it's a I don't know who actually owns it. It seems like it has changed hands over the years, but it is it's a nice little dealership. Went in there to have the anti-theft system taken care of. So it was a good experience. They did exactly what they were supposed to do, fixed it. Let's see if we get to Marge from Quincy real quick. Marge, good morning.
Good morning, John. How are you?
Good.
Good. John, I have a 2020 Hyundai Sonata XL whatever.
Yep.
It has less than 3,000 miles on it. I was just told by the dealer that there's been a rodent infestation on the harness, and that it's going to cost $5,000 to $7,000 to fix.
That is entirely possible. If they have to replace the entire wiring harness, which is possible, because they can't. Because the way wiring harnesses are made now, trying to splice things back together is sometimes an impossibility. So what you want to do is you want to put this through your car insurance.
Oh yes, I'm going to.
Yeah.
But they also told me that the brake rotors in the front were warped.
They're probably they're probably rusty from sitting still because you don't drive it that much. Yeah. If I guess what I'd want to do once, you could certainly get the brake rotors done while it was in there, but if they're just looking at them for rust purposes, if they're just saying, oh, they're warped and they're rusty, well, because the car doesn't go very far, they will get rusty and you will get a vibration. But sometimes just driving it, 15 or 20 miles knocks all the rust off it, and it's fine afterwards. So, so maybe what you want to do is you want to get the car back and then drive it some and see if you drive it and you feel a vibration when you step on the brake, then maybe think about having the brakes done. But if you drive it for 20 or 30 miles and it seems to stop nice and smooth after a 20 or 30 mile drive of using the brakes off and on for a while, I wouldn't worry about it.
Okay. All right. Well, that sounds like a plan. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. You have to watch out. You have to watch out and you don't know what you get for rodents. I mean, I've been chasing chipmunks around for a while, and they can do the same thing, I guess. So.
Yeah, but what I don't understand is it was parked between two other cars that had nothing.
Yeah. That absolutely. That's the problem. That absolutely can happen. We had one of our vehicles, and we're running out of time, but we had one of our vehicles at work. I don't know what built a nest under there. It looked like a raccoon built a nest under the hood, right between two other trucks, where the other trucks were fine. So you never know.
Well, the Sonatas use soybean composites.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. You listen next week. We'll talk all about soybeans and how it really doesn't make a difference. But we'll talk about that next week. Okay. All right. Thanks, Mark. Yep. Bye-bye. Hey, that music means we got to go. I want to thank Sant Satya for joining us, CEO of Lufcar, and, of course, Jesse for doing the phenomenal job he does back at the studio. So until next week, make sure you wear your seatbelt, drive safely, be good to your car, and if you see an emergency vehicle by the side of the road, slow down or move over. It saves lives. Talk to you all next week. Bye-bye.